Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. Another look at most valuable promotions is recent signees. Unbeaten up-and-comer in the women's featherweight division, Elizabeth Oshoba of Nigeria, a fighter that we've already talked about once or twice here on this channel. I wasn't aware that Elizabeth was on MVP's radar, but apparently she was, and they've gone ahead and picked her up. From Nigeria, but based out of the UK, campaigning anywhere in between 126 and 130 pounds, this statuesque fighter clearly has a future. Another prized stallion in the featherweight division. They signed Jennifer Miranda and they've signed Elizabeth Oshoba. Elizabeth could end up picking up a title at 126. She could end up picking up a title down the line at 130, as high as 135, because this is a statuesque fighter with a statuesque frame that could easily fill out to 130, 135, maybe even 140. Sporting a professional record of 9 wins with no losses, no draws, 5 recorded knockouts. I've seen her, and she's very good. She's not just a tall drink of boxing. She's got some skill. She saw action 2 times last year, once in January, then again in June, and she's already fought at least once this year in March. A great signing. Helping to round out most valuable promotions is stable of Valkyries. They have some established fighters, established names, champions like Dina Thorsland, Ellie Scottney, Sharita Metcalf, but they've also made an investment in the future with unbeaten up-and-comers like Naomi Valle, Natalie Dove, Tam Thibault, and Elizabeth Oshoba, representing the next wave of women fighters, the next generation. Now, in the featherweight division, she can always set her sights on the winner of Nina Menka versus Daniela Bermudez too. Go the IBF route, see about fighting for the IBF title, or she could always wait for Amanda to retire. Amanda still holds 2 alphabet titles in the featherweight division, but it's conceivable that she's going to drop them in the not-so-distant future, beyond the Katie Taylor trilogy, at which point Elizabeth Oshoba can swoop in and pick up one or some of those alphabet titles. Now that she's going to be promoted by Most Valuable Promotions, you can expect to see a lot more of Elizabeth on a much bigger stage than she has ever fought on, and I reiterate, I wasn't aware that she was on MVP's radar. Congratulations to her. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, ahead of this weekend's welterweight unification match between Jaron Ennis and Eimantas Stanionis, there seems to be a growing sentiment in some quarters that this will be the final fight of Boots' matchroom deal, and that beyond that, he will be leaving. What? I saw a Twitter account that goes by the name Pound for Pound say, LOL, Showbiz saying that he is not covering Boots versus Stanionis just told me everything I needed to know as to why the fight hasn't been promoted. What? This is Boots' final fight with Matchroom. He is not re-signing with them. That boy is going home to the PBC. Look at God. What? First and foremost, I wouldn't call it a godsend if Boots were to go to the PBC, because that would then mean that watching his fights would become that much more expensive thereafter. If the PBC were at the helm of this weekend's fight, if they were at the helm of the promotion, we wouldn't be getting it as part of a subscription. We'd have to pay $80 to see it. They'd bill it as a pay-per-view. How is that a good thing? How is that a good thing for me, for you, and the other boxing fans who are already inundated with pay-per-views? You want his fight fights to be behind a paywall?
What?
I don't really know where exactly this rumor started, but I've seen more than one person talking about it, that this could be Jaron Ennis' final fight of his existing matchroom deal. Now, perhaps what may have motivated it is that he's already had about 3 fights under the banner. The David Evanesian fight, the Karen Chukadzian rematch, and, of course, this weekend's fight.
Which would make 3.
A lot of the deals that Matchroom gives these fighters are 2-fight deals, 3-fight deals, but it's entirely possible that Boots' deal might run a little longer. Maybe it's a 4-fight deal with some add-ons.
Because when they signed him, it was a big signing, and obviously they had, and still have, big plans for Jaron Ennis, which is why they would have kicked out the money for a unification match in the first place.
I don't presume to know the future, but if history is any indicator of things to come, should Jaron Ennis win this weekend and become unified champion, I've no doubts that Matchroom will have options on him moving forward.
You think they'd kick out millions of dollars for a unification match without covering all the bases?
You think they'd kick out millions of dollars for a fighter that could be leaving them after this weekend's fight? Look at what they did to Edgar Berlanga. Initially, they were planning a big homecoming fight in Puerto Rico up until they realized he wanted to be a free agent moving forward.
At which point they decided they weren't going to spend all that money on that homecoming. They cheaped out and put him on an undercard instead.
So why would you think that they'd kick out all this money to get Boots a unification match if they figure that he'd be leaving afterwards? The way this guy reconciles it, they don't know he's leaving.
But you do?
I still don't know where this rumor started. I still don't know where specifically this is coming from because no credible news source is reporting this as Boots' final fight on Matchroom, but that's what some guys believe.
What some guys are saying is that Matchroom didn't pull out all the stops to promote this fight because they know it's Boots' final fight under the banner. That's what some people are saying.
Which I find a little hard to reconcile because they're expecting approximately 9,000 people to show up. So what do you mean they didn't pull out all the stops? What do you mean they didn't promote the fight? 9,000 people are expected to show up.
Clearly they promoted the show.
Analyzing this scenario, it just seems like more wishful thinking from PBC fans, PBC stans, that have just now realized the PBC stable is thinning out. They have very few flagship fighters, and they could use a guy like Boots to beef up their stable, potentially a unified champion after this weekend. I saw one guy say he can go over there and get Barrios and potentially Brian Norman if Top Rank is working with the PBC and a plethora of fights at 154. It makes way more sense.
I think he meant sense.
Except that it doesn't. You say he can go over there to fight Mario Barrios, except he didn't have to go over there to get a Stanionis. So why would he have to go over there for Barrios?
Why?
Stanionis is just as much a PBC fighter as Mario Barrios is, and the PBC made no effort to make a unification match between them, even though they're both their fighters. They're champions.
They didn't bother.
Those two welterweight champions have been reigning parallel to each other for over a year now, and the PBC had over a year to put them in the ring with each other, and they didn't.
They didn't make no offer to Brian Norman either. They didn't make no offer to him to try to get them a unification match with him, but all of a sudden you think unifications matter? To the PBC.
The PBC, who can barely keep their stable of fighters active since they only did about 5 shows last year, and the rest of their fighters, they're outsourcing to other promotional outfits. Hell, some of them are even landing on ProBox.
Look at where Erickson Lubin's next fight is going to be. It's going to be on ProBox.
But I'm supposed to believe these people got the kind of money to bring Boots over there. They've got the kind of money that he's looking for when he's already making millions on Matchroom. Why would he leave?
Why would you want him to?
We're very big on entertaining all possible scenarios on this channel, as that is the intelligent way to approach any proposition. And on the premise that Boots were to actually leave Matchroom to go to PBC, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing for you. That's not a good thing for me, because in all likelihood, his fights are going to be billed as pay-per-views moving forward. So where before, you didn't have to pay $80 to see him, you would if he goes over there, and that's what you want.
Yeah, because these guys don't pay for anything, so it makes no difference to them.
And that is how you can reconcile it. That These guys don't care if his fights end up behind a paywall because they steal everything they watch anyway, so it makes no difference to them. Which would hardly make his migration from Matchroom over to the PBC a good business decision when you're the example, you're the proof.
You're the reason not to. You go over there, you're just gonna end up with a bunch of guys like you guys that don't buy shit, and you ain't gonna make big money on pay-per-view.
Is that the only appeal of going over there? That you'd get to box on pay-per-view moving forward at a time when people aren't buying pay-per-views as much as they used to, and if not for some of the boxing scribes exaggerating about the success of these box office fights, more people would understand that more pay-per-views ain't the way to go.
So I'm seeing more and more people that are of the opinion that Boots may be leaving after this weekend. I saw veteran content creator T Street Controversy say, Matchroom is known for having media days for their top guys, and Boots Ennis did not have one this week. No promotion in the Philly area or like anywhere stating he's fighting in Atlantic City. So Boots, next to be out at Matchroom, they are bleeding fighters.
Reconciling this, I don't see why they would kick out a bunch of money to promote a fight in Philly when it's happening in Jersey. If you were going to promote it anywhere, you'd be promoting it in Atlantic City over the weekend to the people that are going to be there.
As far as Jaron Ennis not having a media day, you know, Jaron Ennis ain't exactly got a silver tongue on the mic. He's not a big talker, and neither is a Montestanione.
Neither of them. And you say that Matchroom is hemorrhaging fighters, bleeding fighters, but they're signing fighters at the same time.
At the same rate.
Tell a whole story, why don't you? That while Alicia Baumgartner and Ellie Scottney may have migrated from Matchroom over to MVP, Matchroom just signed Elif Turan,
Did everybody forget?
Tira Moana, and 3 other standout amateurs that they have signed and added to their stable. And the biggest issue I have with this proposition is that I don't think Matchroom would have kicked out the millions of dollars to make this fight for Boots if they didn't have some assurances that he would stay with them moving forward.
Nobody reported that this was going to be the final fight of Boots' existing Matchroom deal, but if by some chance it is, I'm pretty sure that they've covered all the bases, that they have matching rights.
It's the way that these modern contracts are structured, that if Jaron Ennis takes care of business this weekend, I'm pretty sure Matchroom is going to have options on him moving forward.
But he's got to win first, before they announce a contract extension. He's got to win the fight.
They wouldn't announce that beforehand. That's something you announce afterwards. And winning that unification match might constitute an extension. I think a lot of these guys that jump in the gun, and not all, but some are hoping that he'll go to the PBC because they're still holding out hope that the PBC can rise from the ashes like a phoenix in Arizona.
A Glendale.
Scottsdale. They want Boots Ennis to be the leader of the new school for PBC at a time when PBC ain't even doing shows like that.
It's been mostly pay-per-views, and the only kind of shows that they're giving away at no additional charge, are fights like Fundora versus Cordell Booker,
Thurman versus Jarvis, Plant versus Resendiz.
If by some chance all these rumors turn out to be true, and Boots goes over there, you're looking at $80 a pop to watch him fight, moving forward. Is that what you want?
I don't know. I suppose we will all get the answers we're looking for beyond this weekend's fight.
But as stated, I don't really know where this sentiment, this rumor originated. I don't know where specifically it came from.
Jaron, we're here on fight week, out of a massive unification for yourself against Jaron Ennis. Talk to me, what's the feeling like? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready to show out on Saturday and bring back home 2 more belts.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Ring Magazine title on the line for this one.
Yeah.
How extra special is that knowing that you could lay claim to being the best in the division?
It's very, very special to be able to be fighting for the Ring Magazine. It's a belt that I always wanted. Since I was little, even like watching other guys get it, like I seen Andre Ward had it, Floyd had it, a lot of top guys had it, and that's a belt that I always wanted to have, and I'm gonna get it on Saturday. I'm excited to be, Ring Magazine champion.
Final one, prediction?
Prediction
for Saturday night.
Oh, prediction! I'm gonna go out there and have fun, put on a show, and be victorious. Not looking for a knockout. The knockout gonna come.
Thank you, George. Cheers.
And what's your goals in boxing?
To be, stamp my mark at 147, stamp my mark at 154, 60, and maybe 68. So try to be undisputed at all those weight classes. So that's 47, 54, 60, and 68. So 4-time undisputed weight division champ.
Big aspirations from Jaron Ennis ahead of this weekend's unification match that will see him crowned the next Ring Magazine champion should he emerge victorious. And I think that he's going to, but beyond that, he's got even bigger goals. Obviously, to become undisputed at 147 and 154 and 160 and 168. It's what you want to hear from a young unbeaten fighter, an unbeaten champion. It's what you want, but how likely is that to happen when a lot of guys, they move up in weight and they can't be who they were in the next division? We don't know that Boots is that kind of fighter because he's just now stepping up in class as a welterweight.
And that's after 33 professional bouts, after 33 fights. We're still getting to know this guy. There's a legitimate argument that a Stanionis will have been the best fighter Boots has fought in 33 fights. We have to see how he looks.
Evaluating the probability that he can become an undisputed champion at junior middle, we have to see him do it at welter first, so that then we'll know. Some question, how much longer will Jaron Ennis be able to make the welterweight limit and make it healthy when he's a big guy for 147 and he's already been here a long time?
2 more belts to go.
And how long would it take to make those unification matches with Mario Barrios, with Brian Norman, if he does emerge victorious this weekend? It's taken him this long just to get another belt. How much longer will it take to get the others?
And don't forget that 154 is a deeper division than 147. Oh yes, there's a lot more peril at 154, and the guys, they're bigger, with a bigger punch.
Discussed this on a live stream just the other day, that perhaps Boots may not truly be tested until he moves up and until he's at 154. And looking at the crop of champions that are there, if Boots moved up right now, what kind of odds would you give him against Sebastian Fundora, unified champion? What kind of odds would you give him against Bakram Murtazaliev?
The other fighters that are there, like Sergey Bohachuk, Israel Madrimov, Charles Conwell, Virgil Ortiz.
What kind of odds would you give him against those fighters? By my reckoning, Boots has not established himself as the best in show at welterweight yet. Even if people think that he is, he has to prove it. He hasn't done that yet.
He's not pound for pound.
Even if he wins this weekend, a win over a Stanionis in it of itself is not going to be enough for him to crack my list. The guy in the bottom tier, Kenshiro Taraji, is already a unified champion and has been unified across not just 1, but 2 weight classes. Boots beating Stanionis.
You're just playing catch up with that guy. That's not going to be enough to get you on my list.
The way things are, Boots may not have a credible enough argument to get on this list until he becomes undisputed. You heard that right, because there are already a good number of undisputed champions on the list. Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, Canelo.
They've all been undisputed.
I mean, at the earliest, he doesn't get on this list until he gets 3 alphabet titles, and even then, that may not be enough. It may not be enough until he actually becomes undisputed champion. This is a hard list to get on, but it's supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be easy.